I've researched tens of thousands of tax sale properties over the years. And the first place that I usually start is the tax assessor's report, which provides loads of very useful information if you know how to use it. So today I'm going to show you how to find and how to read a tax assessor's report like a pro, a skill that you must learn if you want to succeed in this business. We're going to break down a few different reports line by line so you know exactly what matters most. Because if you just bid based on what you see on a tax sale list alone, which usually provides very little information, you're basically gambling. By the end of this video, you will see how you can turn those boring assessor reports into a massive asset for your tax sale arsenal. Let's go ahead and switch over to my screen. So what you see right here is simply Google. I typed in Marion County, Florida tax deed sale. Now I showed you how to find tax lists on a previous video. Let me show you how to find the property assessor's report for the tax deed properties. Let's go back to that tax deed list again. Super easy to find these sales. Let's go to Marion County tax deed sale. You use a real foreclosed. We're gonna click on this auction calendar and let's go to the next upcoming sale. All right, so some counties will make it very, very easy. They link stuff up. Actually, I would say the majority of counties nowadays will link up the property assessor's reports. So we're going to click on, let's click this very first one right here. Very, very simple to find this property assessor's report. So what you're looking at here, let's go line by line on this. Number one, you're looking at the 2025 property record card. So this is the report based on the 2025 valuations by the tax assessor's office for this property. Now, if you click these links up here, it might say 2024, it might go back to 2020 even. It will show you the information based on the 2020 assessment of that property. So if you're looking at a 2020 list, you gotta understand that's a few years out of date. So you need to make sure it's the most current possible. So we're looking at 2025. This is the parcel number. What you generally want to do, because sometimes the clerk's office will make mistakes, you want to guarantee that what you're looking at here, this parcel number is linked to the right property. Again, they make mistakes. In this case, it is linked correctly. Right here, this is the owner's information. That's the person that is going to lose the property unless they redeem it. So it tells us about the millage rate, which is basically the way that they tax these properties. Let's see. Over here is the acreage. We'll scroll down a little bit. We'll look at the value. Now, this is the tax assessed value for that property. And it breaks it down: land value, building value, miscellaneous, total just value. So what you see here is $15,750 for the land value. There is no buildings on it, and there's no miscellaneous improvements on it. So we have a $15,750 value based on the tax assessor's valuation of this property. Now, I always caution people, when they look at this number, you don't need to use that number or any calculation of that number when you determine the values of properties. A lot of people like to cheat. They try to shortcut the process, and they say, okay, in my state, I need to double this number. Or in my county, this number is going to be 70% of market value. Well, guess what, guys? These are tax sale properties. Using this number as a percentage of market value is going to be much different than every other structure, every other property that's out there, right? So don't go off this number alone. Likewise, this number might be from when they appraise the property, when they assess the property back in January. And if it's October now, let's suppose in the meantime, a building has burned down. That's two totally separate values, right? You have a property that has a building on it, and now you have property with just rubble on it. Again, two different valuations. Not to mention these tax assessors oftentimes are driving by the properties, you know, outside of maybe the initial measurements. They probably aren't even getting out of the car. And in some cases, they have not even reviewed the property in many, many years, or they might put a group assessment on it, especially if it's a vacant lot where there's lots and lots of other vacant lots. They might say everything in unit number 5 of this subdivision is valued at this price. So don't use these values when you determine how much you want to pay for tax sale properties. Actually go through a process where you learn how to do a comparable sales analysis and how you learn to properly value properties. Okay, so that's kind of just a side rant there. But what I do look for in these values is if it says $0 or $100, or if it's a little vacant lot like this and it says $10 million or some crazy number, that will kind of cause a red flag to be waved. Say, hey, what's going on with this property? Is it, you know, if it's valued at $0, is it because it's a water retention area or something like that? And it's got an extremely high value. What did I miss? What can I study a little bit more? Now, when you look down here, you have things like total assessed value, exemptions, total taxable value, school taxable value. These are basically numbers that help to formulate the tax bill in this specific area. Same thing with amendment over here. You have amendment 10 impacts and stuff like that. There's all these things will mainly they're just used to again formulate the taxes for this property. What we generally want to look at is the land value and the building's value, because right off the bat, zero, we know that the property is going to be vacant. All right, moving on. History of assessed values. Again, we don't need to base our investment off these, but we can get a few clues about the property off these numbers. So 2023 to 2025, the value is almost doubled, which means the property in this area is becoming more in demand, which kind of correlates to the market conditions, right? Not that big of a shocker. Now, if you're looking at the building value, for example, and this says, $50,000 one year, and the next year it's $0, right off the bat, you know that that property no longer has any sort of building on it that holds a value. Maybe it was demolished, maybe it was burned down, or, on the flip side of that, say this says zero, and then the next year it says $100,000. You know that they built a house on that property on that year. So again, don't use these for bidding purposes, but you can use them for clues in the property. So when we look at property description, this is going to be the legally described real estate. Now, you need to learn, if you really want to filter properties very quickly, you need to learn how to read legal descriptions. This is a very, very basic one. This is called a lot and block description. Basically says section, township, range, plat book G, page number 40, Ocala Ridge, unit number 5, block W, lots 48, 49, and 50. So you have 3 lots that make up 0.17 of an acre. So you have lots that are just shy of 0.06 an acre total. All right, we scroll down. We've got use code. So use code in every county might just be a little bit different. In this particular county, this stands for 0001 is vacant residential. You need to know what those use codes mean because they can have a big time impact on the value of this property. So right off the bat, what you're looking at is a residential use code. Now, if that use code was something like 9999 or something along the lines of, swampland or properties that are unbuildable properties or water retention areas, it's going to, flip a major red flag. So take the time to study these use codes. Frontage. 75 feet of frontage by 100 deep. So 75 by 100 is lot size, 7,500 feet, which comes out to 0.17 of an acre, like we learned earlier. All right. Units, 3 lots. Unit type, lot, right? 3 lots, very simple. All right, let's see. And again, this is the value of that property. We keep going now. Miscellaneous improvements. There's none on this property. Appraiser notes. Sometimes there's going to be some appraiser notes. He might say something like, couldn't get inside the fence, couldn't measure, couldn't drive by the property, whatever it is, that's what you are going to just sometimes, they might have even more serious stuff where it's like sinkhole issues or foundation collapsing or something like that. So pay attention to those. Then we scroll down here. And that's basically it for this one. Now you can link up to the GIS report. You can actually see the current tax bill and a bunch of other information, but that is outside of the realm of this video. Let's look at another one here. Let's see if we can find a building maybe. We'll look at let's look at this one right here. Close out that one. All right, so in this one, it's kind of similar, right? It's the same county. So we have the parcel number. We would want to go and match that before we actually bid on the property. Here's the delinquent taxpayer here. We've got 0.44 acres. We have the address on this one. Now, a lot of vacant properties do not have the address because they've not had a 911 address assigned. Different counties handle it different ways, but most 911 addresses are not assigned until you actually apply for a building permit. So in this one, you have a $24,000 change land adjust value, $60,000 in buildings, and $650 in miscellaneous. We look at these numbers. They look pretty cool. Up a little bit here and there, but there's no massive drops. In this one, you have a property transfer history. This is a sales history of the property. It looks like 2015, these folks bought the property for $37,000. Now, when you look at this stuff, kind of take it with a grain of salt. Okay, so this $37,000 looks a little bit low. I don't really know. We'll have to dig into a little bit more to find out if that's normal or not. But that number right there might mean that a father sold it to his son for half the market value or something along those lines. So you have to really dig into the deeds if you want to know exactly what they paid for it. A lot of times, unless it's recent, this information is kind of irrelevant to us. We're more or less concerned about the comparable sales in the area. But there are benefits to digging into the title history of a piece of property. Now you see all these $100, all these things down here. So what you see here, this $100, that's just an arbitrary figure. It's more of a number that they are required to put into the system to fill that spot, right? When you fill out a form online, it says this is a required field. That's basically what this is, right? So you have an affidavit at the same time, and maybe it was an affidavit that this gentleman passed away in 2017 and he could not sign this warranty deed or whatever it is. So you have all these little things that are filed. These are things that are filed against the property, okay? So you have a death certificate and an affidavit. 2003 had a quick claim deed for $100. Before they had warranty deeds. These are all $100. So it kind of tells me that maybe it was some interfamily stuff. Maybe there's some deals worked out or whatever. And then prior to that, it sold for $6,600 back in 1972. Now here is a property with both a lot and block description and a measured description. So you're looking at Buckskin Lake Manor, Block 8, lots 5, 6, and 16. And if you read this, there's a whole lot here, but this southerly 7 foot, 7.6 inches of lots 4 and 17. So you've got the full lot of 5, 6, and 16, and then a 7 foot section, 7.5 foot section of lots 4 and 16 here. So again, it's obviously this is a good enough size piece of property, but had you looked at this and this was a lot for sale and all it said was the southerly 7 feet, 7.6 inches of lots 4 and 17, you have a 7 foot strip of land you're buying. So that's part of the reason you want to learn how to read these. But in this situation, it's no big deal because we have 0.44 of an acre. All right, so we scroll down here. We've got use here for residential. We've got 115 by 100. These are all the different lots kind of combined. So when they take the lots, they look at them, and this is basically what you have. The zoning here is R4. And something I didn't mention on the last one, you need to also understand what the zoning is. I think the other one was R2, which was up to 2 family, and this one's R4, which is which is mobile homes or modular homes is allowed, compared to R1, which would be like site built. And that's for this specific county. Again, every county is just a little bit different, but something else you want to make sure is that this use code matches the zoning. So you might have a property that is zoned single family residential, but it has a use code of commercial. So you have kind of conflicting land use and zoning, which means the property cannot be built on until that is resolved. And of course, that's in most counties. We scroll down, and we got a little bit of a layout here of this property. Kind of tells us a little bit about the property. It looks like they have a building here, an outbuilding as well. All right, so this was last inspected 2018. So this information is nice, but understand that there's been a lot of time between now and 2018. At that time, it was low quality, a single family residence, 30 to 34 years old, and it built in 1970. So low quality in 2018, it's probably, I would doubt, especially if it's gone under a tax sale, if somebody could not afford to pay the taxes or did not want to pay the taxes on it, especially these folks that live many, many states away, they probably did not do too many improvements between now and 2018. So keep something like that in mind. Again, we're kind of going through all these clues, which will help you kind of put all the pieces together. So from here, you look at a property, it's got exterior walls or wood shingles. Looks like it's got some porch and all that good stuff. And again, here's the layout of the building with the dimensions. That's what these are, 13 feet by 20 feet here. Scroll down, built in 1990. Ground floor area is 1605 for the main structure. And then you got some outbuildings and some patios and stuff like that. Gable roof. And again, most of the stuff is pretty accurate. All we're trying to do here is just get a picture of what we're looking at in the property. So when I review a tax list, this is one of the first things that I look at. It's going to be this tax assessor's report. So it kind of fills me into what should I expect here, right? All right, so we keep going down. It tells you the number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms, kitchen, all that good stuff. So here's the miscellaneous improvements that we talked about earlier. It's got a septic. It's got a fence. We actually put septic on here twice. I don't know if there's a well or not. I'm assuming that there is a well, but you never know. A fence, and then it's got some pavement. Then we scroll down back here, and they've adjusted some values and stuff. So that's going to be Marion County. Let's look at a couple of other counties real quick here to kind of keep giving you an idea of what you should expect when you're looking at a tax assessor's report. So let's look at The first county we're looking at Miami. I'm sorry, the second county will be Miami-Dade County. Oops, let's see. Miami-Dade County. Actually, all right. So if we went to Miami-Dade County directly, what you would do is kind of scroll around their website and find it. So if you just happen to stumble across their website, and you're like, oh, I know they handle it, but I can't find it. Just search. It's very simple to search. You can also do this in Google, and it'll probably take you to the main page. But in the state of Florida, property tax deed is handled by the clerk of the court. So we will go to search the sales. All right, real foreclose. Now, something else to note on this when you go to find these are foreclosure sales like bank foreclosures and stuff. These are the tax deeds. Make sure you click on the right one. We're just going to click on one and we'll look. Let's see. Let's look at this one. So anybody that says tax sell properties are only for cheap, properties that are falling down in the middle of nowhere or vacant lots or something, go to bigger cities and you will see properties like this for 1.7. It has a tax assessed value of $1.7 million. And the opening bid is $115,000. Here's one for $1 million. Opening bid $56,000. Let's click on the parcel ID and we'll pull up the property assessor's information. All right, so that's going to be loading. And what you'll see, this is a little bit different of a layout here. Let's see if the map will load for us. They've got a pretty interesting system here. So on the left-hand side here has the parcel number, has our address. So this is building unit 401, mailing address, beds, bath, living area one. Okay, so we got 2,298 square feet, built in 2019. It does not report the beds and the baths. Let's see, might be a reason for that. Might be a commercial property. They might just not have ever accessed that property. So from 2023 to 2025, value is going from $1 million down a few $100 to $999. Keep scrolling down. Let's see. All right, we'll keep going. Let's see if we can find some more information about this property. So as you can see, everybody's website is just a little bit different. So you can actually, they actually have tools, comparable sales analysis, which might or might not be helpful. Let's see what it pulls up for us. It will likely pull up some. Okay, so if you were able to, if you had the address, you can type the address in here. If you're in a building, it will tell you here's some comparable sales nearby, which is actually a pretty cool feature. Kind of saves us a lot of time. But obviously you need to vet that information. So, this doesn't have a whole lot of information about this specific property. But obviously, you could Google Paramount Miami, World Center Condo, search on it for Google. And you can more than likely get as much information as you need based off your starting point, which is the tax assessor's website. Let's go back and find another one here in Miami. Let's do a cheaper one this time. $138,000 assessed value, opening bid, $13,800. All right, let's see. This one will load here for us. We'll close out of this tab. All right, so Flamingo Village. Okay, this is a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 1 floor, 1,148 square feet. Total square footage, living area is 802. You have the year built 1949. So right off the bat, we know it's an older property. We scroll down to the sales history, financial. They signed a deed in lieu of foreclosure. They sold it to somebody at some point or transferred it. Let's see. We keep scrolling down. They got a chain link fence. They got a patio. So again, there's pretty good information on this website as well. Looks like I don't know if their mapping feature is not working or what, but they've got pretty good information here. All right, so let's do another couple of states. Let's do Harris County, Texas, tax deed sale. Let's see. And all these are linked. We're going to see if we can find one that's not going to be linked. All right, we got to agree to all their terms. All right, so we view this. Let's see. Harris County Appraisal District. We'll click on that. All right, so again, what you want to do, this one's a little bit more text-based. What you want to do is verify that the account number matches what you're searching for. That's one of the first things. So this is the owner's mailing address. The property address of the property will help you find the property because, again, all we had previously was the parcel number. We can simply copy and paste this into Google to find it. Land area, 42,000 feet. Building area, 19,000 feet. That's a pretty large building. I'm assuming this is going to be a commercial structure of some sort. Yeah, it looks like a commercial structure. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. I'm just more or less curious what I'm looking at. So yeah, you have a commercial structure right there. So 19,000 square feet. Let's see. We can scroll down a little bit. Market value $633,000 total of the land. Improvements $300,000. Total value $937. Again, that's not the number I'm going to base my bid off of. I'm actually going to do some research after this, but I'm just looking at this for clues about the property. It's a manual metal fabricating building. We scroll down. Looks like they might have multiple buildings on this property. Actually, 1,600 square feet, 1,800 square feet, 16,226 square feet. Let's see, building areas. Brick. Looks like it's in poor condition. There is some paving and asphalt and utility buildings. It looks like we can. Let's see. This will pull up anything for us. All right, so this tells us about a different building. Tells us the information about this building down here. Okay. Click on this again. Scroll down. Okay, and there's all the information that we need. So this is, this is like just a good example of why you would look at this, right? Like without knowing this, I would have not known this was industrial. Didn't know it was so big. All I have is a parcel number. So you take that parcel number, put it into the tax assessor's website, and boom, you suddenly know you have this. And then you would keep doing the research. But again, the very first thing that I do is I take that tax assessor from the tax cell. I take the parcel number, I put it into the tax assessor's website. Now, obviously, this is just step one. You must know what you're looking into. This information is kind of just clues here and there, but there's a lot more steps to that. We teach stuff about this in the Tax Cell Playbook Masterclass. We have workshops on this. There's a Q&A session that we have in Tax Cell headquarters. If you're interested, check us out, taxcellhq.com. You also have a fantastic community that is very, very active. And we have a lot of very supportive investors in there as well. So just kind of a side note. All right, let's look at one more county. Tax sale. Let's look at Colorado's tax lien sale. We will look at, let's see, this county right here. Oh, they actually use GovEase, so we'll go to GovEase. All right, view auctions. All right, we'll go to Colorado. And let's go to Lake County since that's where we're at. So as you'll notice here, this is a lot different than what we just saw. So interesting enough is they've got a guy that has multiple properties, it looks like. So let's just click on this one right here. So what you see, we click on this. Let's see. They've got some stuff posted here, but they got a lot that is not posted here. So what we'll look for is, looks like there's nothing linked here. So what we're going to do is we're going to type in Lake County, Colorado Tax Assessor. And all we're doing there is we're basically going to copy and paste the parcel number into the tax assessor's website if we can find the property record search right there. Copy that. So this one isn't linked like a lot of the sites are. So this is a good example of, once you are looking at the tax sale list, if you want to go somewhere else, if you need to go somewhere else to find the information, there you go right there. So we'll type this in, copy and paste. So here we have this property here. It's in the city of Leadville. We'll click on it. This provides a little bit of information. It's kind of pretty basic, but we have the east 11 feet of lot 21, and we have lot 22. So lot 22 and a portion of lot 21. Here's our actual value, $240,000. Improvements 987 square feet for this. Looks like this little building here. Got a few photos. Again, looks like this photo is 2016. So yes, that photo is 2023. The property again could be burned down, could be demolished. There'd be a lot of things wrong with it. But again, this is the very first part of your research. If you find that when you're doing this research, yes, I continue to be interested in the property, then you dig deeper and deeper. But this stuff here that I'm showing you is very, very fast research. It's very easy. It takes just a few seconds out of your day. And you can say yes, I want to continue, or no, moving on to the next property. So here's a diagram of the building, and here is the subdivision itself. So we can go, let's see, we'll go back here. Has some sketches, and you can actually, you can pull up the GIS and all that good stuff. So obviously there's some linked documents over here. Let's see what we got. Just notice evaluations from the county. Yeah, notice evaluations, residential. Click on residential here. It tells you more about the property. Um, and again, these are random counties that I selected just because I wanted to go through this exercise with you. So built in 1960. Let's see, tells you about the area of the property. It doesn't have any remarks on this one. Then you want to see the land. Tells you about land, 0.09 acres. So that's really it. That's what you have when it comes to finding tax assessors' websites. Hopefully now you feel much more confident. You have a little more clarity when you start researching your tax sale properties. Again, the first thing I usually do is I'll pull that parcel number, I'll throw it in the tax assessor website and just kind of get an idea of what I had and figure out if I want to dig a little bit more or not. So hopefully this helps you out. For more information, make sure you check out our community, taxsalehq.com. Lots of fantastic trainings. We go live there every week with workshops and Q&A sessions, and lots of very, very supportive and helpful other tax sale investors that want to see you grow alongside with them. Hey, take care, folks. Bye-bye.